Yeah.
Please.
How would you describe the relationship between Anna and Christian?
I think it's fairly complicated. I think there are two people that, on paper, probably, wouldn't usually be together, but they need each other and they do love each other very deeply, and they end up making massive sacrifices and changes in their life to make it work. Which I think so many people can relate to. Maybe not in the exact terms that the changes that they've made in these books and in these films, but I think everyone can relate to, sacrifices for love and adaptation for love and everything. So.
Do you think maybe that's a reason why the whole franchise is so successful?
Yeah, I do, because it's not the first book of its type, but it's certainly the first book of its type to, have such an impact, and for, was it over 100 million people read the books? I mean, you may never see the like of that again, in any book, never mind a book that's, categorized as, erotic, like fantasy novel or whatever. So there has to be so much more to it, and I think that's what resonates with people.
So 50 Shades is such a great phenomenon, you already said that, and you're in the center of it, in the middle. Yeah. Do you get used to it? Is it still crazy?
No, because it's the only times you feel that you're at the center of it in a weird way are days like this, or when your premieres and all the focus is on that, and you see all the fans and how much it means to them and all that. I think that's when you're like, oh, this is a big thing. It means a lot to a lot of people, and you feel very much at the center of it. You obviously feel part of it all the time, and that you wear that and you carry that with you. But when you're in such a bubble when you're making movies, and it is just very much just you, the other actors and the crew, and that sort of outside world and intrigue with what you're doing, and interest, it sort of doesn't filter in a way, unless now and again we're like on location somewhere and fans would be there and you get a sense of it. For the most part, you're sort of in a studio like this and you're just focused on the work, and you're not that aware of the sort of heightened madness around something like this.
How did your life change? I mean, can you grab a coffee somewhere and just be relaxed on the streets in London?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I definitely get recognised more now than I would have previous to this job, of course, but I don't, it hasn't had that much of effect. I think there's people who get it a lot worse, and we sort of made a point of moving out of London now, so we're out in the countryside, sort of in the middle of nowhere, and that definitely helps. I think you can go seeking it a bit more. I'm not saying that if you live in London you're seeking any kind of like recognition, but it's definitely easier if you're not there.
Is it easy for you to shake off the role after the shoot? I mean, if you're shooting rough scenes or if you're shooting love scenes during the day and you get home, how do you try to shake it all off?
Well, I mean, for this movie, and we shot 2 and 3 back to back, and my family were with me in Vancouver for the entirety of the shoot, so they were there for 5 months or whatever it was. And I have 2 young kids, 2 kids under 3, so you have no choice as soon as you walk through the door but to shake it off. You can't carry any of the character with you, no matter what job you're doing. Kids don't allow you to be anything but dad, and that's a brilliant thing, and it's actually really beneficial in helping you just leave the work behind and pick it up again the next day.
So how was shooting again with Dakota, second time? Was it easier? How was the chemistry between you both?
I think it's easier because we know each other a lot better. The first movie, they're heightened situations, this, right? You're dealing with quite a lot of sex scenes, pretty much with a stranger for the most part, and that is an odd sort of environment. But Dakota and I have an ease with each other now, and a respect for each other, which I think is very important. We make each other laugh very easily. Again, I think that's very important when you're trying to get through days like that, where it's so sort of heightened and at times feels very surreal. So it was definitely, I think in general, 2 and 3 was an easier process because not just Dakota and I, but everyone knew each other better and were more comfortable around each other, and becomes a bit more like a sort of family atmosphere, and that makes work easier, you know.
Do you still talk about your first love scene sometimes, or do you know what was running through your head?
I don't know if I remember the first love scene. Probably should. No, I don't actually remember it. Oh, I do. Okay, I do remember. We were sort of eased into it quite gently. The first one, you know, we didn't do anything too extreme on day one. So we purposely left most of that to the end of the shoot in the first movie, so that Dakota and I had time to sort of get to know each other better and feel more comfortable around each other. So I think that was sort of important, you know.
Yeah, to get to know each other and to get used to each other.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
it's really, everyone thinks about that.